Every year in America, millions of students take their first steps onto college campuses. They leave behind their family and friends to start a new venture. Students come from many different backgrounds and places across the world to further their education. When they arrive, they start to experience new things. One serious issue that students may face is substance abuse. Three main factors that can cause substance abuse are stress, peer pressure, and genetic factors. There are different types of substances used, such as marijuana, prescription drugs, and alcohol. We're going to inform you about alcohol, which is one of the most commonly used substances on college campuses. In a 2005 nationwide survey of college students, it stated that 44.8% of students were classified as binge drinkers. They consumed 5 or more drinks on at least one occasion in the past 30 days. Alika is now going to inform you on how alcohol abuse is caused from stress levels and peer pressure.
Hello everyone, I'm Adlika, and I'm going to talk to you about how stress and peer pressure contributes to substance abuse in college freshmen. Number one is the stress of being away from home and their comfort zone. Being away from home is difficult, I know for me. So not being around loved ones and their support system contributes to them having a lot of stress. The uncertainty of the future. A lot of college students go to college but not quite sure what they want to pursue when they get there. And even though they start a course of study, it might not be what they will eventually end up doing. High expectations from family members. Maybe they're the first ones to go to college, and maybe different family members contributed to them going to college, and they're proud, and they don't want to let those family members down. Difficulty in schoolwork. College is a lot different from high school, so they're pretty much more responsible for their actions and getting their classwork in on time. They may fall behind, start failing exams, and skipping classes altogether, and that in itself is stressful. Peer pressure, expectations from peers. Many students go to college and people probably expect them to drink a lot. Their peers expect them to act the same way they do. They want to be accepted. So if they drink alcohol like everyone else and maybe go into binge drinking, they're more likely to fit in and they want to be socially accepted by their peers. The environment that they're in. Schools where you have a strong presence of athletics and maybe fraternities and sororities, they tend to have more parties and everyone's at the party. And not that I'm speaking from experience, but where there's a party, there's alcohol and probably, other drugs associated with it. So now that I've told you about stress and peer pressure and how they contribute to alcoholism in freshmen, I'm going to turn it over to Johnny, who's going to talk to you about how genetics affects the alcohol and substance abuse. Thank you.
Another prevalent cause of students abusing substances is genetic predisposition. Although it is similar to the factors of peer pressure and stress previously discussed by Olika, it does differ in a distinct way. It is one of the only factors that can be studied and measured before a student steps foot on campus. The three primary genetic factors are family history, race, and gender. According to the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, conducted by the National Institute of Health, or NIH, of the 10% of students who report having a parent with alcoholism, 23% of those students meet the criteria for having a drinking problem themselves. The conclusion they drew was that children of alcoholics are significantly more likely than children of non-alcoholics to initiate drinking during adolescence and to develop alcoholism. When student alcoholism was studied on the basis of race, a doctoral candidate researcher found that whites had the highest rate of binge drinking, followed by Korean students and then Chinese students. According to the same NIH study mentioned before, students in the age range of 18 to 25, 38.2% of white students said they had used any substance addictively in the past year, followed by African American students, 38.6%, and Hispanics, 27.5%. To see the significance gender plays, we can look back to the same NIH study, which showed that male full-time students were more likely than female full-time students to have engaged in binge drinking. Now we'll have Louisa to conclude with our presentation by discussing the reactions of college officials and the consequences students face.
My teammates have all brought to you the various types of addictions along with the causes of those addictions. Let me conclude for you the possible consequences of those addictions. An addiction to any substance can cause one to venture away from responsibility in order to feed their addiction. In the case of a student, they may decide to find ways to feed their addictions rather than focus on their academic studies. In many cases, this may lead to criminal activity. The underlying consequence may be the lack of studying, or in many cases, the inability to study. Addiction is a progressive disease. The more someone abuses a substance, the worse the addiction can become. Because of this, the individual may see their responsibilities as less and less important. The addiction becomes the controlling factor in life, leaving school, work, and other important parts of their life less important. Team B has concluded that substance abuse is a serious issue in colleges. Institutes are implementing a number of programs, although there are limited staff available. College officials may have the ability to offer treatment, but as in everyday life, the success of curing the addiction lies with the addict. While the support of family and others is important, the ultimate success of kicking the habit will lie with the individual.